I'll be going over how I play Maokai in lane. I got him when he first came out, and I always built him straight tank, and then Chu came along and started dominating the solo queue ladder with Triforce Maokai, and that really opened my eyes to what he can bring to a team in terms of versatility. He can fulfill a lot of different roles. He also brings a ton of utility in terms of disruption, CC, and damage reduction, and so on. Then more recently, at MLG Providence, the Odd One just dominated with Maokai from the jungle, and those were kind of the two events that really put a lot of eyes on Maokai. So this is how I play him in lane. The runes that I use are flat AP Quince. I find that this really helps with your burst early to mid game. It really helps you dominate that lane early so that you can farm safely. I get Magic Pen. This helps all four of his spells do a lot more damage. For my yellows, I use health per level, and for my blues, I use AP per level. And I find that these two really help you scale into mid and late game, especially if you don't have the best early game. You're still going to be able to do a lot later with your health and your AP. And if you do well, you'll be even tankier and be doing even more damage. If these don't fly with you, you can always get mana per level yellows, mana regen yellows. That will help you spam your spells more in lane. You can go with cooldown blues if you want to get more saplings out. For my masteries, I use 2109. I've got 4 points in AP. Again, this helps with the early burst. Cooldown reduction, you get your spells out. Magic Pen stacks with Magic Pen reds. AP per level stacks with AP per level blues. And just more AP, and then Executioner, which is great for Maokai because you're going to be popping your ult towards the end of engagements and team fights when they're hopefully below 40% health, and this really helps that hit harder and secure those kills. Attack speed's great, makes it easier to last hit, makes it easier to proc Sheen if you go with Triforce. I go with 1 point in Summoner's Wrath. I usually take Ignite, but sometimes I'll take Exhaust. I'll explain that later. Good hands, spend less time dead, mana per level, and then mana regen, and 1 point in Runic Affinity. Maokai benefits greatly from both blue and red buffs, especially if you go with Triforce, so you really want to be holding on to those buffs for as long as possible. For summoner spells, I almost always go Ignite Flash. Ignite's really helpful when you're laning, it really adds to your burst combo. If I'm going top, I may go Teleport Flash, especially if it's an evenly matched or a more difficult lane. If I'm feeling comfortable top, I might take Ignite and Flash as well if I feel like I can push the lane to their tower and then back and return safely before they start damaging my tower. And if I'm ever matched up against a harder lane, I might consider Exhaust. Helps you escape easier, helps you reduce their damage output, and it also can bring more to a team fight depending on the enemy's composition. Like if they've got, Twitch and Vayne and so on, and those are your threats, you might want to consider Exhaust to shut them down in fights. But then again, if they have Swain or Mundo, not that anyone plays Mundo, but someone that heals a lot, you might want to still take Ignite also for Tryndamere. So those are your considerations for summoner spells. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I play them in a game. Now, for early games, since I'm against Lux, I bought boots and pots. Reason being is that that's going to help me dodge her skill shots more easily. Now, I tend to play a very passive lane early on, because Maokai can't do a whole lot until he gets his combo, being EQW, or WEQ, whichever order you prefer. So I generally just try and stay safe, stay behind my creep wave, and when I hit 3 I'll try and burst him down. A lot of times you're going to have to miss some of the early last hits as Maokai, just because of how he's a melee fighter, and you need to stay out of the range of your opponents. Now Lux has Ignite, so she could be trying to burst me down too. So I'm almost 3, and when I hit 3 I'm going to try and do some damage to her. Now I pushed my lanes with my saplings, which is kind of a mistake. I believe she Blue Flash, which is good. I'm going to drink a potion to keep my health up. And the thing with Maokai is his burst is a lot of damage, but the cooldowns are also low, so I'm already set to do it all over again. And she's not going to be expecting that. And that would be how to get an early game kill. And now's a great time to be, considering how low I am. And since I am doing well, I'm probably going to go with my Sheen first. If I'm doing well, I'll go with Sheen. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to demonstrate 2 ways to do Maokai's skill combo. The ideal way is to throw an acorn and then root and then knock up right as the root ends, and you'll guarantee that your acorn hits. If you want, you can throw your ult down after you throw the acorn for maximum damage. This is especially good if you're focusing their carry in a team fight situation. The second way that I do a lot in laning phase is throwing your acorn after you root, because sometimes you'll be chasing people and you want to nail that root. You don't want to throw your acorn without guaranteeing that you know the root. So if you're not sure if they're in root range, you can do it more like this. Root first, then acorn, then knock up. Now as mid-game approaches, you're going to get to a point where you can clear the caster minion wave with a single sapling. And what this means is you are going to be pushing your wave. So consequently, you want to make sure that you've got your wards up. You can see I've got wards in their jungle to make sure that I don't get ganked on either side of myself. And your saplings are also great for that. You can use your saplings to ensure that you don't get ganked. If you don't have the wards up, throw a sapling into the bush, check for a gank. They last for 35 seconds, which is quite good. So, because I dominated so early on, I'm just going to kind of take the opportunity to farm safer. And don't forget that because of the jungle remake, you can actually take your jungler's camps, and it really won't hurt him because, for instance, wraiths are up in only 50 seconds. And what that means is, I'm going to ping Rammus for them. What that means is I can take them and they're going to spawn with more gold and more XP, which is going to help both him and me. Now I tend to stay in lane when I'm using any AP mid. The reason I do this is because you can see that Lux is actually heading bot. And I'm going to take advantage of that, not by chasing her, but by putting damage in her tower. And when you go with Triforce, you've really got that attack speed and that AD to really put some damage into a tower when your lane opponent leaves. And again, Acorn's going to clear that back wave instantly. You can really pressure a tower. And if I'm concerned about top hitting down, I can go ahead and throw a sapling in that bush and keep an eye on that. The sapling will actually make noise, and now it gets a little alarm, and it will alert you and scream when someone approaches it, which is kind of neat. And here the enemy's being aggressive at our tower, which is an area where Maokai excels. He's very good at defending towers because he just throws that burst out as soon as they slip under tower range. Now I have red, which means when I hit someone they're going to be slowed, but I'm out of mana. So I'm going to B, shop, work towards that Trinity Force. And red buff plus Trinity Force is great. You know, you've got your Phage procs plus the red procs. You can really stick on someone combined with your knock up and your Q. You want to just, when you're trying to chase someone down, root them. And as soon as that root wears off, knock them up. And then keep on hitting them. And that Phage will slow him down, and then that should be enough for you to root him again. Maokai does so many things well. Not only can he hold the tower well, and push a tower well, but he can clear waves quite well and push fast. Especially if you combine his ult, which has a low cooldown, so you can use it for clearing a large wave if you don't necessarily need it for a fight. If you combine his ult with his acorn toss, you can wipe out a massive wave very quickly. When you are getting dragon, it is quite helpful to go ahead and throw out a sapling. That will kind of deter any intruders. It'll slow down them trying to steal it. And unfortunately my ult was down, but in a team fight situation like this, you do want to make sure that you throw out your ult any teammate within that ult is going to be taking 20% less damage. So it's kind of like making the fight a 4 vs 5 if you nail it perfectly and your team cooperates. The reason being is they're going to be taking 80% instead of 100% damage. So his ult is very underestimated. The enemy does look to be dragoning right now, so we're going to try and stop them. They have wards, they see us coming, they back out. We might attempt it. Nope. If we can get a full-blown team fight here, it would be great. I'm going to throw down my ult and keep my teammates safe while they engage on the enemy. I'm going to keep my spells used when they're off cooldown to keep that disruption up. And you can see how much that ult really does help a team fight. No one died. Now the enemy has done a great job of coming back. They've been farming up and catching us in our jungle. But like I said, Maokai is great at catching those stragglers. Hey, it's a triple kill. Zilean did alter, but it wears off before she dies. Poor timing on his part. Now later in the game, Maokai can play a part kind of like Singed, where you push really hard and you kind of troll the enemy team and force him to come to you. You can really disrupt things like that. Zilean's ult does go off. I knock her up to keep her there, and my team makes short work of her. And you can see how that Triforce really helps me stay in a safe position to move in and out of those fights. The move speed's great. Now, once you finish up your Rod of Ages and your Triforce, I would recommend building situationally. For instance, I felt like I was more than tanky enough, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a Rabadon's Death Cap. If I needed armor, I would probably go with Randuin's Omen, or perhaps a Frozen Heart. If I needed AP, I'd probably go with Banshee's Veil or Frozen Armor. Or rather, Force of Nature, I'm sorry. Here a tower's being sieged. Someone was just taken out. You can use your Q to bypass the enemies and move closer to your tower. It didn't quite work, but you'll see what I'm saying. In fact, I died. Now at this point, I'm going to demonstrate Maokai's skill combos on the two golems. No, I'm not.